Giannetto De Rossi was the man who brought nightmares to life. So Giannetto De Rossi was the special effects maestro behind such films as Zombie Flesh Eaters, The Beyond and High Tension. He was born in Rome on the 8th of August 1942, and he came from a bit of a cinematic dynasty. His grandfather, Camillo De Rossi, is widely considered to be Italy's first professional makeup artist, and his father, Alberto De Rossi, not to be confused with Alberto Del Rio from WWE, was also involved in mid-20th century Italian cinema. So at first, young Giannetto resisted getting involved in the family business, as you do, but growing up around, I believe it was called the Cinecetta Studios, he watched his parents as they crafted illusions for epics like War and Peace in 1955. And contrary to what Jerry Seinfeld claims, the working title was never War, What's It Good For? It was always War and Peace, or War and Peace. Now I'm getting confused. Anyway, young Giannetto joined his father on sets like Cleopatra in 1963, and he helped out applying makeup to Elizabeth Taylor, and he helped out with colourful prosthetics for the dwarf actors, and it gained the makeup artist a lot of respect for his talents beyond basic cosmetics. So what began as a bit of a reluctant involvement evolved into a bit of a lifelong obsession, fueled not by substances, as is usually the case, but by pure adrenaline in this case. And he once quipped that he'd explode in a bloody geyser if he tried drugs, preferring the real adrenaline rush of 16-hour days and sleepless pre-shoot marathons. Giannetto De Rossi's career did span over 160 films from the early 1960s until his death, blending high art with exploitation cinema and collaborations with masters like Bernardo Bertolucci, Sergio Leone, Federico Fellini, Franco Zeffirelli and David Lynch, as well as cult horror icon Lucio Fulci and, of course, French director Alexandre Aja. But his real breakthrough in special effects came on Waterloo in 1970, where he handled gruesome war wounds after his father bowed out of the movie. But his movies weren't all classy, of course. Notoriety found Giannetto De Rossi with Joe D'Amato's Emmanuel in America in 1977. So De Rossi's hyper-realistic prosthetics were pretty visceral, and audiences mistook them for genuine violence, and he traumatised one actress and certainly cemented his reputation for boundary-pushing gore. But all the best art does offend some people, at least some of the time, hopefully all of the time. And he first worked with legendary godfather of gore, Lucio Fulci, in 1964, on a movie that I can't remember the name of, where De Rossi aged actors and created fake facial hair, but I'm sure you can look it up. He continued to work with Fulci on The Eroticist in 1972 and on the iconic zombies of Zombie Flesh Eaters in 1979. He didn't have a lot of money on Zombie Flesh Eaters, so he sculpted decaying faces on set using red clay, birthing some of horror's best undead designs and most memorable designs. And I believe that Fulci and the crew lovingly referred to the zombies in this movie as walking flower pots. And De Rossi and Fulci teamed up again for Fulci's Gates of Hell trilogy, which was, of course, City of the Living Dead from 1980, The Beyond and House by the Cemetery, both from 1981. But although his career is synonymous with Lucio Fulci and Italian zombies, Giannetto De Rossi did have a long and eclectic career working with many famous filmmakers. He worked on Sergio Leone's Once Upon a Time in the West in 1968 and earned the director's praise for this one. And then Hollywood beckoned with producer Dino De Laurentiis, which led to a few Mexico-shot spectacles. There was June in 1984, where he devised the fetal Spice Guild navigator, and he clashed with Carlo Rambaldi over a sandworm. And he also was involved in Conan the Destroyer in 1984 and made the hulking Dagoth suit, I believe it was called, for Andre the Giant. And he also worked with Sylvester Stallone, fellow Italian brother, on Rambo 3 and Daylight, and the director greatly admired him as well. And he earned a BAFTA for his work on The Last Emperor. A lot of aging makeup and de-aging makeup in that one. And Giannetto De Rossi also tried directing when he helmed Killer Crocodile 2 in 1980, because he created the original Beast for Killer Crocodile in 1989. but he didn't really enjoy directing, so he soon went back to his day job. Which brings me to De Rossi's philosophy. He sort of emphasised direct application to actors over dummies, which was always great. He viewed effects as a search for truth, and he thought of himself as a humble pebble in the collaborative machine, which is a great philosophy. And throughout his career, the humble Giannetto De Rossi did makeup effects on about 150 films, and sadly passed away in Rome on the 11th of April 2021 at the age of 78. And now I'd like to take some time to talk about a few of my favourite movies that Giannetto De Rossi worked on the effects for. There was 1979's Zombie Flesh Eaters, aka Zombie, and it might be accused of copying George A. Romero's Dawn of the Dead, but nobody can accuse Giannetto De Rossi of copying anyone's zombie design. His flower pot zombies are arguably as iconic as Tom Savini's pasty blue mall zombies ever were. And then there's Let Sleeping Corpses Lie from 1974, which is the next one that I enjoy, the next one for me. And this one's directed by Jorge Grau, and I reckon De Rossi's zombies here are quite different to his Fulci zombies. Here he seems to go for a bit of gritty realism. They look real, they look recently deceased, and after Zombie Flesh Eaters, this might be my favourite film that Giannetto De Rossi worked on. And then there's a movie called House by the Cemetery by Lucio Fulci. It's a movie that used to bore me a bit, but it's grown on me a lot over the years, and I really love the look of Giannetto De Rossi's Dr. Freudstein. And last but not least, I enjoy Alexander Ajar's High Tension from 2003. It's an art house horror movie, which I saw in an art house film, cinema in Calgary of all places, and I was pretty impressed that Giannetto De Rossi was still holding up, still going strong after all these years. So I reckon that's about all I have on the late, great Giannetto De Rossi, the man that really did make nightmares. He brought all of these creatures to life, especially for Lucio Fulci. But he did work with some great filmmakers like Alexander Ajar, Sylvester Stallone, Sergio Leone, David Lynch, and everyone in between. So pretty cool, pretty wide, eclectic body of work. And as he said, he was quite humble. He saw himself as a mere pebble in the creative process and saw filmmaking very much as a collaboration, which obviously made him a delight to work with and explains why so many people enjoyed working with him and continually worked with him, including Lucio Fulci, who could be notoriously difficult from what I've heard. But that's about all I've got on Italian special effects artist Giannetto De Rossi. If you enjoyed this video and you're enjoying the content on the channel, it's easy to lose where you saw something, so please like, share and subscribe and let me know how my YouTube driving's going. I normally upload here on a fairly regular basis with things like reviews and these little mini biographies, and of course there's Public Domainiacs, which is a presentation of public domain movies that I like to do as well, and that's all pretty interesting. So I'm off to enjoy the rest of my afternoon. I hope you enjoy the rest of your afternoon or your evening or your morning or your witching hour, whenever you happen to be watching, and I look forward to seeing you next time. Take it easy.